Round 3 was always going to be a big one. Not because of the car, not because there's a title to protect, but because of where it is. Brands Hatch. This is a happy place, a home. I came here as a child to watch racing. I've tracked it, had tank slappers, set personal bests. I even did my race licence here. We have history. It brings great joy, but I'm all too aware of its dangers. Paddock Hill Bend is fast, off camber and, well, terrifying. If done wrong, it can bite. Clearways comes with undulations and unsettling crests. One wrong move there and your race is over. I'll be happy if it gives me a clean finish. I'd be ecstatic if I got on the podium. Friday the 19th of June 2025. We're here at Brands Hatch for one of 3 days, the first of 3 days of driving fun. Today's a test day, which is wonderful. A luxury we did not have at Alton Park and something that made life particularly stressful. But luckily we do have a full day of testing here ahead of 2 days driving here at Brands Hatch. And of course the fascinating thing about driving here at Brands Hatch this weekend is that we're racing on not one, but 2 circuits. The Indy circuit, which is the little kidney bean circuit, and the GP, which disappears off into the woods over there somewhere and comes back. The Indy circuit I like very much and I've driven many times. The GP circuit I've never driven in my life. One thing we have done though, under the guidance of a few people, is get what's called a seat fitting done. And the plan, the hope, is that going out and testing today and throughout the race weekend, that fitting is going to have made all the difference. We should be putting a bit less stress on my shoulders and a bit less stress on everything. So that should be a big help. If we were only racing on oval circuits, doing a NASCAR type thing, then each weekend would be fairly similar. But of course, every race event that we're attending is so different because the circuits are all so different. And that's what makes motorsport in the UK utterly brilliant.
Friday test, always super useful. Get the car dialed in, get your feet under the table with the car. Great premise to then go, platform I should say, to then go into Saturday quali. It's a busy weekend, they always are. It's very compressed between 3 practice sessions, quali into a race, so it can be a compressed timetable at times. But as I say, we're 3rd race in now, so we're pretty used to the format. John's getting used to the format, and just, it's like turning up to school on the first day when you don't know where anything is. Everybody feels a bit nervous, but I think we're sort of over that now. And dare I say, so far so good. John coming here has a degree of expectation himself, I suppose, because he did his race licence here. He actually also did really well in his licence upgrade. He did the ready to race in the Mazda MX-5s. He had a really successful weekend. So he knows the track quite well, actually, and he feels quite comfortable here. When he drives in the Ferrari for the first time, it's going to be not just a bit faster than what he's used to, it's going to be considerably faster. Even a slow lap round here in the 296 is going to be 10 seconds a lap faster than what he's used to in the Mazda MX-5, right? So that's no small number. We're normally talking about tenths, not 10 seconds. .47.5, just gone half a second quicker, that's good. Yates is only doing 46.4s at the moment. Track's really slow. Just reported a problem with the car.
the whole car just sort of went "Ugh," and felt horrible. It's not clearway, sorry, paddock out of Druids down. Yeah, there was a big kind of like movement in the car, and I knew something wasn't right. The other giveaway was I looked at the camera for the rear and it said no signal. And I thought, that doesn't just turn off. So yeah, that's done some damage. That's horrid. That's now on reflection, I realise that could have been really bad. That could have been end of the weekend bad. It's not necessarily a fault of mine, I don't think. I don't know. I need to look back at the video.
By nature, the Ferrari 296 is quite soft. The damping doesn't have much travel, and they're quite soft. So what that means, when you come through big compression, when the car goes downhill at speed and then back up, the car gets a lot of load very, very quickly, and it bottoms, like effectively bottoms out. So when that happens, the wheel obviously travels deeper into the wheel arch, and what it's caught the rear diffuser, and then the rear diffuser's got trapped between the tyre and the wheel arch and delaminated the tyre. And then when the tyre delaminates, there's lots of debris and it takes everything else with it. So he's gone through the compression at Paddock Hill, it's bottomed out, blown the tyre, and then taken the rear diffuser and the wiring loom. It's kind of just blown all that apart. So it can be repaired.
Yeah.
And to be fair to John, that could have been a lot worse, because imagine having loads of grip to suddenly none. Yeah. That's what's happened. So he's done well to bring it back in.
Day 2, had a shave especially just for you. Yesterday was fun, wasn't it? We had a bit of an issue in the last practice session, which the more I thought about it, the more I thought, oh, I need to stop thinking about that, because of course, yeah, we delaminated the tyre, pretty much at one of the fastest sections of the circuit, into one of the scariest motorsport circuits in the world. Somehow the tyre didn't explode, somehow the car didn't spin, somehow I didn't get fired into a wall, somehow I'm not being airlifted to a hospital. Everything's fine. Yeah, yesterday, aside from the dramatic tyre incident, it wasn't an overall satisfying day. I didn't finish the day feeling like I'd set myself up for an easy weekend. What you want to do is go out, set a half-decent time in your first session, and then just keep on improving that. And I went out and set the half-decent time in my first session, but I just couldn't get near it again later on. So it's really difficult. You end up sort of beating yourself up. The heat today is going to be ultimately what decides on everything. The race will be won or lost today on tyres and the way that the tyres are looked after, because as we learnt yesterday, the tyres are, the window of time, the lifespan of the tyres is so much shorter than it should be because of the temperatures here. What happened to us wasn't ideal. Many other people towards the end of the session yesterday on the testing were spinning, they were going out, they were going up into the grass. Luckily no big disastrous offs, but it goes to prove that what we're all used to in terms of how much time and how many laps we get with these tyres is much, much shorter. The other thing, of course, about Indy, Brands Hatch Indy circuit, is there is no opportunity for the tyres to rest. On a circuit with a straight, the tyres, believe it or not, will actually cool down for, even if it's only for 15 seconds or so in a straight line. At Indy, there's no straight. The tyres are always doing something, and you've got big off-camber corners, we've got hard braking points, so the tyres are just working absolutely harder than they should ever be in conditions like this. That is going to be the make or break today.
Realistically, about 6/10. That's quite a lot.
The grip levels lap to lap are just so different. Even like micro adjustments to the line are causing really, really big differences. They're saying that there are sections where I was finding pace,
Yeah.
where I wasn't on previous laps. But yeah, we made the right decision. I think we've called it. I think at the moment we're 8th. We might change. The difference, of course, in this round versus other rounds is that everyone is now qualifying in terms of lap time and not class. So there are some fast guys in Copper Shell who've been racing for many years and have a lot more experience here in cars like this. So rightfully so, they are quicker. And they're ahead of me. I would have loved to have found another second. Don't know how I feel. I'm confident that I've got the car in a good spot now where I can go out and just have a nice, safe, consistent race.
The lights go out, and it looks as though it's a good start from Paul Simmerson, who might just nip up the inside of Pranav Van Gala as they head up towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. It is going to be Gilbert Yates that leads the way, and Paul Simmerson has capitalised and has taken the opportunity to go through and ahead of Pranav Van Gala. And the man who has moved from Cobra Shelter Trophy in Pirelli for this weekend is now up into second position. Down to third goes Pranav Van Gala, but he's already under pressure from Fedor Samarokov.
He is Fedor Samarokov now looking for the cutback as they work their way onto the Cooper straight. Brilliantly worked move if he can make it stick on the brakes in towards Surtees. Pranav Van Gala, very, very brave all the way around the outside, manages to hold on to third place. With all that battling, that's allowing Paul Simmerson just to build up a couple of cars lengths. We see the black machine of John Marcar still trying to close down on that pack up the road, but Peter Hunter, he's trying to make good his lead.
He is, yeah. So up towards Druids. Paul Simmerson really feeling the pressure, isn't he, from Pranav Van Gala? Those two are pretty much inseparable. Pranav Van Gala with a good run coming out of Druids up towards Graham Hill Bend, but Simmerson just chops across the nose.
Peter Hunter, his wish finally came true, but he's still being hunted down by Mike Dewhurst as we look back to second place. Up at Druids, Simmerson still soaking up the pressure from Pranav Van Gala. Pranav Van Gala is just edged wide onto the edge of the circuit. Second place up the inside, and Pranav Van Gala somehow manages to find some room. Paul Simmerson now being ushered towards the grass, almost contact between the pair of them. Van Gala up into second, Simmerson down to third.
That was tight, that was hard racing.
Some good battles going on further down the order, one of which is John Marcar. He is currently sat in 11th place. He's hunting down the 25 of Stephen Dobson. Up the road from Stephen Dobson is Paul Dixon. It's a good little scrap working its way through the final corner at the moment. Two Copper Shell drivers, one of which is a Trofeo Pirelli, that being Marcar at the tail end of that little scrap. They're working their way back over the line once again to tick another lap in the book. It was a good lap from Pranav Van Gala last time through. Improvements across the board. He's going to try and hunt down championship leader Gilbert Yates. Yeah, Pranav Van Gala onto a 46.065, so 3/10 best part of quicker than Gilbert Yates. Car number 12 receiving a track limits warning, so Joseph Dean clearly pushing hard, trying to close in on the trio up the road. The next car he will see will be John Marcar, and want to try and close in as quickly as possible. They're just heading up towards Druids at the moment, and it's ebbing and flowing, but nobody's really making those inroads that they want in this stage of the race. John Marcar is well and truly there. If anything, I'd say he's closed in on Stephen Dobson over the previous couple of laps. Through the final corner and Clark Curve they will go back along the Brabham Straights to tick yet another lap in the book. They just cannot wait around as the number 12 machine of Joseph Dean is going to start closing in. Joseph Dean last time through in fact lost a bit of time, but you can tell he's pushing, especially with the track limits warning.
Yeah, thanks to our roving reporter Dave Richardson, who informs me that the issue for Fedor Samarokov was that it thrown up an error code on the dash, and therefore understandably he brought the car into the pit lane to make sure that that was not going to cause a problem with the car. They've reset that and he's back out there, so brilliant work by the team to get him back out there. But again, it's such a short straight here at Brands Hatch that you exit Clark Curve and a blink of the eye later you're into the braking area for Paddock Hill Bend. Very, very difficult, isn't it, to try and overtake in cars which are mechanically identical.
Yeah, and when you're utilising all 690 horsepower, as you say, Paddock Hill Bend arrives very, very quickly indeed. So for Marcar at the moment, biding his time, 17.5 minutes plus 1 lap to decide exactly where he's going to make another move for this position. It won't be a position in class, it would be a position overall, and it would put him in theory inside the top 10, which is exactly what Marcar will have wanted. Just keeping an eye on Peter Hunter. It seems like Mike Dewhurst is closing him down for the lead in Copper Shell.
Yeah, Mike Dewhurst was 0.2 of a second quicker than the light blue car for the lead of Copper Shell last time through. So we'll just keep an eye on that one as back over the start-finish line comes the Stephen Dobson and John Marcar squabble. So let's just run you through the order then as we head towards the halfway point of the 30 minutes plus 1 lap. Number 1, Gilbert Yates leads the way by nearly 4 3/4 seconds now from 29 Pranav Bangala in second place. Third is 77 Paul Simmerson, and fourth is 95 Callum Leatham.
I think now the number 16 machine of John Marcar has finally managed to pick the pocket of Stephen Dobson for 10th place.
No second opportunity needed. John Marcar just took his usual racing line, squeezed his way through.
Yeah, forced the mistake. The Pirellis were doing everything they could to keep the Ferrari 296 Challenge car pointing in a straight line.
Yeah, it's as you get tired as a driver, as the tyres start to drop off as well, you don't quite get the performance and the levels of grip that you wanted. It is a warm day, so everything's feeling it. That's all you need, just a very small mistake. And Mike Dewhurst at the moment looks as though he is probably in a better place with his car and his tyres as a package.
And we have a car off the road.
We do, and that looks like it was Stephen Dobson that's had the problem. I think he'd already had one little squirrel sideways coming out of Druid and caught the moment. I'm afraid he's not caught the moment this time through. So you can see the damage to the left-hand side of his car as the car has sort of spun around on him. But rather than throw the safety car for that stricken car of Stephen Dobson, the decision has been taken to display the checkered flag slightly early.
He has indeed. The Copa Shell battle still raging on. It is going to be Peter Hunter that might just make it to the line in time. Hunted all the way by Mike Dewhurst. A flash of the lights, but Peter Hunter back-to-back wins in Copa Shell. And Gilbert Yates follows up a 13th consecutive podium with another win.
Obviously had a really poor start, which dropped us back, but he had to then effectively do the work to get past the cars that he'd been passed by, which took the whole length of the race, and he got one more place just right towards the end there. So finished where he started in P9. Could have been better, to be honest. So
The start was a bit tricky. I mean, I'm always so nervous about the start. The problem with Brands is you've got two really mad corners to start with, which then, if people get by, you get caught behind a back mark, which is exactly what I did. You're then just trying to wait for them to make a mistake, and it's tough. I got past one, and then right up to the last minute, over the line, managed to get another one just before the checkered flag. But other than that, I was pretty much stuck where I was. So, but yeah, I'm not going to grumble about the result because I know the pace was good. If the pace was terrible and the laps were slow, and I came in that position, then yeah, I would have been grumpy. But it was just an unlucky start. That's all.
My name's Paul Simmerson, from Leicestershire, racing in the Ferrari Challenge for the 6th season really. I started when the challenge first started in 2019. We did 2020, 21, which was a bit quiet with COVID. And then I had a year out after in 2023, in September, I had an argument with the wall at Spa. And yeah, I needed to tie my shoelaces for a few months. So I had a year out and then jumped back in at this year with the 296. I was actually speccing a car over in Maranello, 2018. And while we were there, the guys were saying, well, we're going to launch this race series in the UK. And I said, well, I wouldn't even know where to buy a helmet. I've never done any track days before, or I wouldn't even know where to start. And they said, well, we'll help you with that. We'll get you your licence, we'll in this ready to race programme. And then, yeah, if you want to do the series next year, I was like, so you're going to help me do it? I was like, they said, yeah. I was like, okay, well, order me a car. And it was as simple as that. My first ever test day was here. So the guys set you up with a driver coach. We went when I got our licences with the Mazdas, which was great fun with a load of bunch of guys. They said, look, do not start racing these Mazdas. Just drive around, get your signatures, and you've got no need to try and race. Whereas you put 20 guys on a track and turn the lights out, and we all go racing. So that was the Mazdas. Then the first test day was here at Brands Hatch in the rain, and I literally had to literally look on YouTube to find out how to get into the circuit at night. So I stayed in the Mercure. We drove through in the morning, and there was British touring cars here, lots of them, Porsche Carrera Cup teams, Formula 3 teams, and it was chaos. I literally drove in thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Off track, you're always going to be competitive. I think it's in every person's DNA that they're competitive at whatever they do. In terms of being competitive on track, you get in the car, and as long as you feel comfortable in your driving position, your seating, the way you are, your helmet, everything else, the guys in your radio, you trust your technicians, you can then feel that you can push the car. And then as soon as you can start feeling that you can push the car, and not just push it, but when things don't go right, then you know what to do, and so you can catch it. So today I've been pushing as hard as I possibly can, because having voluntarily moved up, I'd look a bit of a chump if I suddenly qualified P10 and finished P12. So I've deliberately had to really push myself. So I've spun, I've done 3 times at Graham Hill, once at Druids. I've been through the gravel. I've spun twice at Surtees. I've pushed the car a little bit today, and probably my own ability, to be fair. Personally, I would suggest that they get the car and do as much testing as they can, because you need to know, be familiar where everything is. The first time if I look back, when I first started racing, everything was happening around me so quick. I had no time. It was like, I was literally like, everything was a blur. The more time you spend in the car, everything sort of slows down. You suddenly have time to talk to your guys on the radio and have your drink, etc. And you know what you're doing, you can play with your traction control. To be fair, I've been really impressed with the way that John sort of approached this, in terms of he's got a driver coach who's not just sitting in the car, he's actually there. You can tell they've got a real good bond already. And John trusts what he says. And when the coach says the car will do this, you need to trust that they can. But it's very difficult when you're in the car on your own. So John's approach has been to, look, I'm just going to try and learn as much as I can, ask as many questions as I can. He's like a sponge trying to absorb as much information as he can. But I've also actually been quite impressed by his driving. I struggled to get past him, and he didn't make it very easy. I couldn't get past him at one point, so he's going to do really well. He's doing really well.
Today is day 3 at Brands Hatch and race day 2. It is Sunday, and today we're driving a circuit that I have never even looked at before, the Grand Prix circuit, which is over there. Yesterday's results, yeah, I got out of the car, I was beating myself up a little bit because I really wanted to do a little bit better than yesterday. It was a P5 in class, it was a P9 overall. I would have liked to have done slightly better than that, but it was a bit of a shaky start, overly cautious. I thought there was going to be a big incident into paddock, and I saw a car put some wheels on the grass, and I just assumed, uh-oh, big crash happening, so hit the brakes. And in doing that, a few of the slower cars from Coppershell managed to get by, which is absolutely fair enough for them. So for me, the race was then trying to get past them, and Brands being as technical and tight as it is, it's really hard work. The frustrating thing for me was I knew the pace was good. I could see the purple sectors lighting up all the way through the race, even when the tyres were very much at the end of their life. But yeah, I felt a little bit disheartened when I got out of the car. Interestingly, my other half and I, Amy, we have a bit of a tradition. Once the chaos of the day has come to an end, we'll go back to our hotel room and we'll watch the race back on YouTube, because of course that's the first opportunity I get to see it as a spectator. And I always feel a lot better after watching the race back on YouTube, because I'm like, oh, actually, it's quite impressive. You know, what we're doing here is quite a spectacle. And I don't know what it is, I don't know why I beat myself up in the moment, but yeah, to finish again 5th in class, to finish top 10 overall, that's another top 10. I'm still 4th, somehow 4th on the championship table, which is like pretty good going for my first ever race season, so I can't grumble about that. Everyone I speak to that's driven it and raced it, everyone's had exactly the same reaction, said, you're going to love it, it's the most exciting circuit in the UK. So for that I'm excited, but obviously there's a little bit of apprehension there because I've never done it. I've done a good few days on the sim trying to learn it, and I had not 1 but 2 driver coaches on the simulator building up to this, which was brilliant. So I had Miles with me, but also the legend that is Nicky Faulkner, who used to actually be a circuit instructor here at Brands Hatch. So if there's anyone that knows this circuit, it's Nicky. So Nicky, the driving wizard himself, he was with me and Miles, and we had a good day in the office working through that. The sim is fantastic for remembering where the corners go, but for the actual physical undulations, the ups and downs, the forces, it can't teach you that. So yeah, I'm excited, I'm looking forward to it. A bit nervous, but I'm not going to let that spoil my day.
Not bad, to be fair. He was feeling the pressure, I think, going out onto the GP circuit. It's a tall order, it's so bloody fast. That back section's so bloody fast, so actually really happy with that.
That is one of the hardest things I've ever done in a car. Learning a circuit for the first time ever Learning circuits is nothing new for me. I enjoy learning circuits, but learning circuits in that, when you're preparing for a qualifying session and then a race, is tough. But my God, it's fun. I think my brain was far too busy thinking about other things. It wasn't I know it was hot because my back feels disgraceful. That back section is just like everyone told me. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it, and it is. It is mad. It's so fast. It's so flowing. The corners are blind. There are two like significantly blind corners where you go in on pure faith and like get this line right, wait for the corner to appear. I don't know the names of the corners, so I can't tell you which ones they are, but that is by far one of the most difficult yet rewarding things I've ever done in a car.
The safety car is about to peel its way in towards the pit lane. The lights are on the gantry, and we're about to go racing for the second and final time this weekend at Brands Hatch. Round 3, race 6 of the 2025 Ferrari Challenge UK. Neat 2x2 order as the way the cars work their way up towards the start-finish line. Red lights remain on the gantry, and as they flash their way out, which they'll do any second now, we're away and racing, and it looks as though both front row men match each other for pace as they head up towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Gilbert Yates will have his nose ahead as Pranav Van Gala in second place, but he's going to lose out to Fedor Samarakov and might even lose out to Paul Simmerson, both of whom are looking to try and sneak their way through. So Pranav tries to brave it out around the outside at Druids. He will hang on to third place, only just though from Paul Simmerson, but Fedor Samarakov with a great start to this race, braking very, very late in towards Graham Hill Bend for Pranav Van Gala. I think there was a light touch, wasn't there, between himself and Fedor Samarakov, which shuffles the order once more.
Yeah, there was indeed. He was so late on the brakes. Fedor already eyes into the apex, and all of a sudden Pranav Van Gala arrived on the scene. It seemed like as well the 77 machine of Paul Simmerson, he was there or thereabouts, but just couldn't quite find the grip. As for Mike Dewhurst in the lead of Coperchel, he's got Marcar, Hunter and Leatham all stacked up behind him.
Yep, so that's the quartet of cars just working their way out of Graham Hill Bend at the moment. Mike Dewhurst with his hands rather full. John Marcar having a really good run as well. He sits there 6th overall, but 5th in the race. And Peter Hunter's trying to nip up the inside of him as they went in towards Surtees. If Peter Hunter can get through ahead of John Marcar, that then puts ever more pressure onto the man who leads Coperchel, which is Mike Dewhurst. But Peter Hunter tried it, it didn't quite work, and because you try something at Surtees and it doesn't work, it then slows you down all the way down towards Hawthorne, and Peter Hunter has fallen away from the car he was trying to attack and is now fully into the clutches of Callum Leatham, who is weaving array behind him at the wheel of the 95 car.
Yeah, another flash of the lights as well from Callum Leatham, so he's desperate to work his way through and past. However, once he gets there, he's then got to try and do the same thing to John Marcar in the hopes of getting a point. So or an extra point. All of this work for Callum Leatham isn't going to reward him just as of yet. And John Marcar, in turn, he's trying to work his way through and past that of Mike Dewhurst. And Mike Dewhurst will want to keep him there, because if he's got a car in a different class separating him from the second place car of Peter Hunter, that's the best position he can be in to try and secure his Coperchel win.
So here comes Peter Hunter. He's having another little look up the inside, going in towards Paddock Hill Bend, but it didn't work that time through. So it's still the same order as they were. Mike Dewhurst in 5th place, John Marcar in 6th, Peter Hunter and Callum Leatham, who made really good progress, didn't he? In the first lap, he gained 5 places and has sort of plateaued there. He's just not been able to pick anybody else off.
No, he hasn't at all. It's just as soon as he's caught a little battle, he's, I think, inadvertently got involved in this battle. Mike Dewhurst has got John Marcar getting closer. In turn, he's got Peter Hunter getting closer, and Callum Leatham, I think he's taken a step back to have another look at this, mainly because John Marcar's now going for the move all the way around the outside of Mike Dewhurst. It was the inside on the exit of Surtees. It'll be the outside at Hawthorne. You've got to be very brave and ask a lot of the Pirelli tyres. This time I don't think it's going to work, but goes for the cutback. In turn, Callum Leatham is to the inside of Peter Hunter. Later on the brakes, is the position finally going to change for Callum Leatham? We wait for them to reappear. No, Peter Hunter, he holds on to 7th overall, but remains 2nd in Coperchel.
I think Callum Leatham, despite his relative young age, was just driving with a very mature head on his shoulders there. He looked as though he'd got a run on Peter Hunter, but just decided to back out of it, because I think he thought, you know what, it's just not worth it at this stage. There's still half of the race to go, plus the extra lap. Something might happen. So over the start-finish line they'll come. They are still in the same order. And now for Callum Leatham, that actually cost him a little bit of time. That successful overtake. He's just got to try and build a bit more momentum, try and get back on the coattails of those ahead. John Marcar runs a little bit wide, doesn't he, going round through Paddock Hill Bend that time through. And now Callum Leatham having another nibble as they head up towards Druids, up the inside of Peter Hunt, who just, and only just, gets the door closed in time.
Yeah, so it looked like John Marcar just left that door open. Peter Hunter was there, but couldn't quite jump on the throttle of fears he would wash wide into John Marcar, so they remain as they are, and Callum Leatham was there on the inside of Peter Hunter, but Peter Hunter, nice and early on the power on the exit of Druids, manages to hold on to that place, and that puts him back onto the coattails of John Marcar. Dewhurst will be watching his rear-view camera thinking, I kind of wish I was involved.
It's certainly a great battle that's going on behind him. He'd ideally think, I wish they were further in the distance and not that close to me, but he just can't get away at all. Cannot get away. And again, down the Derek Minter straight, number 95 car of Callum Leatham weaving around, trying to see whether he can prise the door open, but it's not happening for the Charles Hurst driver. He's still got to sit behind the Stratstone Manchester baby blue machine in the hands of Peter Hunter. Peter Hunter's trying to attack and defend at the same time because he's got the Grey Paul Birmingham car, the black car of John Marcar ahead of them, and of course at the front of this queue is another Grey Paul Birmingham car, which is Paul Simmerson. Which is Mike Dewhurst, I should say. So they work their way over the start-finish line. Mike Dewhurst actually representing Dick Lovick-Swindon, I'll correct that. Over the start-finish line now will go. Another lap chalked into the book. That is now 11 laps completed. And our race leader, Gilbert Yates, leads by, well, in Ferrari terms, a country mile. He's 8.6 seconds up the road now.
Yeah, and even Pranav Van Gala last time through set his personal best, but was still just that little bit slower than Gilbert Yates. So Pranav clearly looking after tyres, but has the gap got to a point now where we're not going to see Pranav Van Gala close in on Gilbert Yates? Callum Leatham has finally unlocked the door on Peter Hunter, but Peter Hunter's fighting back on the brakes into Surtees, dives to the inside, gets to the apex first. Is Callum Leatham now going to look for the cutback? No, they changed, albeit only for the keeper straight. Yeah,
it didn't last long, but it was short-lived for Callum Leatham. Back through goes Peter Hunter, and now that's sort of broken them up from it being a quartet. They've sort of separated into pairs now, haven't they? So just turning their way through Hawthorne and onto the Derek Minter straight. Callum Leatham again just weaving around as he has done lap after lap after lap, anything to try and distract Peter Hunter. But it was a very short-lived change of position, wasn't it, between the pair of them. Fastest lap of the race is now down to a 1 minute 26.255 from Gilbert Yates. He's still lapping about 0.4 of a second quicker than Pranav Van Gala, so the gap is now nearly up to 10 seconds. But for Pranav Van Gala, he's very much in his own in second place now, because he might be nearly 10 seconds shy of the race leader, but he's 12.4 seconds up the road from Fedor Samarokov and Paul Simmerson, who are still squabbling over third and fourth.
They are indeed. So over the line goes the battle we've been watching all race long. So Mike Dewhurst and John Marcar absolutely together. Peter Hunter is there or thereabouts, watching on as he has been throughout the race, and is, I think, mainly focused on defending from Callum Leatham at the moment, carrying a lot of speed and momentum into the corner with John Marcar. Down the hill in towards Graham Hill Bend they will go once again. Callum Leatham, you can almost sense the frustration. A flash of the lights, dives to the inside, and Peter Hunter, as he jumps on the throttle, got armfuls of oversteer, manages to get the car back under his spell, but Callum Leatham, this time he's managed to get by.
Yeah, and I think he'll escape his grasp this time as well. Can John Marcar get a good run on Mike Dewhurst? Well, it looked as though coming out of Surtees he had got a good run. Pressure from John Marcar, who has not been able to prise the door open on the car that lies ahead of him, which is the Copa Shell leader, still running there in fifth place. Callum Leatham gets a good run on John Marcar, heading down the Derek Minter straight, and again has to dive on the brakes as John Marcar chops across the nose at Westfield Corner. So that's ill-fated attempt again for Callum Leatham, drops him away from the cars he was doing battle with and starts to put him back into the clutches of Peter Hunter. Really intriguing squabble, this one.
It really is, but again, that mature head, you could see he wasn't 100% confident, so I thought, I'd rather back out of the move than go for a move I'm not comfortable with. Paul Simmerson, since the half spin, means that Dewhurst has started to fall away somewhat, but Simmerson has just expanded that gap over the previous couple of laps. John Marcar, I think, more than comfortable riding in the wheel tracks of Mike Dewhurst, and Pranav Van Gala is more than comfortable in that space that he's got between himself, Gilbert Yates and Fedor Samarokov. But unfortunately, we have had a bit of a moment up at Sheen Curve. Involved in that is Joseph Dean, with damage on the front left-hand side of his car, but also involved in that is Paul Dixon, who was having a great little battle as well.
It is, yeah, and two cars parked on the very edge of the road there, not in a safe position. Can't quite see the extent of the damage to Paul Dixon.
Peter Hunter and Callum Leatham picking up where they left off. Peter Hunter was very briefly in front of Callum Leatham, however, through Hawthorns, very brave indeed. And Callum Leatham all the way around the outside of Peter Hunter and holds on to what is 7th place overall. But yeah, it is such a shame as the safety car is now deployed.
It is, yeah, so safety car is out there. I'm not surprised because of the position of those cars and the fact that some debris in the middle of the circuit as well, so our marshals are going to have to go to work. I think Paul Dixon's car left the scene.
I thought Paul Dixon's car, it was Joseph Dean's car. He tried to get it back, but simply couldn't. You'd imagine some speed. Gilbert Yates, however, his 14.3 second lead is going to disappear. So Pranav Vangala, if he has looked after those tyres, and those Pirellis are have still got plenty of life left in them, all of a sudden Pranav Vangala can apply pressure onto Gilbert Yates, and Fedor Samarkov can do the same to Pranav Vangala. So much can change now.
Great work by the marshals and the recovery crews to clear the incident out of harm's way. So we are going to have a 1-lap sprint, and Gilbert Yates wants to get on with it straight away, and Pranav Vangala, I'm not saying was caught napping, but you'd have thought he'd be closer towards the race leader as they go up towards Paddock Hill Bend for this final lap.
I think safety car was caught napping somewhat. Gilbert Yates absolutely flying, desperate to get this race back underway. Pranav Vangala well and truly has dropped away from Gilbert Yates, but I think he's more now worried about Fedor Samarkov in the rear view camera. Simmerson in a somewhat quiet 4th place, just wanting to get to the end of this race. Mike Dewhurst will want to hold on to the lead in Cape Shell. Then you've got John Marcar and Callum Leatham fighting away for 5th and 6th in Trofeo Pirelli, 6th and 7th overall.
Yep, so leader now turns his way out of Surtees, the final lap of the race. He's still got 0.7 of a second gap between himself and Pranav Vangala. There's a similar gap back to Fedor Samarkov, and Paul Simmerson looks as though he's destined to finish just off the podium. Cooper Shell still going the way of the number 78 car of Mike Dewhurst from the light blue car of Peter Hunter, and the car with its day-glow pink flashes in the hands of Paul Rogers. But for Gilbert Yates, it looks as though he is potentially going to be on for what for him would be win number 5 of the championship season. There's only one race he hasn't won so far, and that was the second of the 2 races at Navarra. So he is on course to maintain his stranglehold at the sharp end of the championship.
Yeah, and even then, all he did was manage 2nd place, so still a huge haul of points for Gilbert Yates. Mike Dewhurst coming through the final corner in a few moments' time, but it's Gilbert Yates once again, Mark.
It is. Gilbert Yates claims the win in race 6 of the championship season, only just from Pranav Vangala, and Fedor Samarkov comes through to finish in 3rd place. Paul Simmerson 4th, Mike Dewhurst 5th place and picks up another win in Cooper Shell. That won't do his championship aspirations any harm at all. John Marcar completes the top 6, and that is a good result for John Marcar. That's the 4th time this year he's finished inside the top 6 in a race overall.
That was hard work. That was really hard work. But do you know what? I'm not going to grumble about anything because I drove really hard there.
Yeah.
Fair play to Mike Dewhurst. Mike Dewhurst ahead of me was on knackered tyres from race 1 and was defending like an absolute trooper. So he well and truly deserved to finish ahead of me. He really did. I think if that safety car hadn't have come out, definitely would have got by him. Yeah. For bad luck for me, good luck for him. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that race. To have driven the GP circuit for the first time 6 hours ago, first time in my life, to go out to qualify 6th, to finish, I think 5th in class. 5th in class or 5th in class, I think. Happy, delighted. That's that was a good race.
Yeah, I mean, coming to a track like Brands, obviously where you've had success previously, is always a nice thing, because you kind of go, well, I've got an idea of going, where I need to go. But the reality was you were driving a car that was not only a bit faster, but just exponentially faster than a Mazda MX-5 ever could be. Everything happens just like warp speed. Got no time to think between the corners, and the car just delivers the lap time. You think, Christ, I'm going around again and again and again and again, and in 10 minutes you could have done 15 laps.
Yeah, I knew the race start for race 1 wasn't strong. I knew in the moment it wasn't strong. I was very hesitant through turn 1 because I saw a car put some wheels on the grass, which of course kicked up dust, and I immediately thought, oh, we've got an incident here. Clearly I was so nervous about getting the race underway that I just wasn't driving the car to its limit. I wasn't pushing the revs up to the red line as I should have been doing, and as a result of that, cars were slipping by. So cars were slipping by because I slammed on the brakes to avoid what I thought was an incident, but equally they would have slipped by anyway because I was knocking up the gears like I was off to Tesco to get a pint of milk. But Miles had some choice words to say, don't do that again.
Yeah, I just said you need to fucking get on with it. I showed it back to you, so it was just, there's no denying on the video. You could see, short shifting, and for no good reason, for absolutely no good reason. It isn't a build-up lap for quali. It's the race, and when the lights go out, you need to just get going. You can't be waiting and thinking, oh, I need to get into the window and all that. There is a degree of that, but a lot of the places, as we've seen, are either gained or lost in the first lap or two. So when you need to just switch your head to go, right, when those lights go, I'm getting going.
Yeah, the race itself today was a challenge. That was a real challenge. The new circuit made things difficult, and I was battling against one of the fastest and most experienced guys in the copper shell category, Mike Durst. And all credit to Mike, he was out on knackered old tyres. He had a big off in quali, which meant that he had to run the tyres that he used in race one. So we knew that Mike wasn't going to be on form. He wasn't going to be as fast as he should be. But one thing Mike did not want to do was let me by, because if he let me by, he'd have his competitor, Peter Hunter, chasing him down behind. So he defended like an absolute star. And yeah, that was a good sort of 20 minutes of hard racing. The start was good, I held the position, and then it was just battle to try and get past Mike. I am quite happy. I think I'm quite happy today in comparison to previous results. Yeah, would I have liked to have ended the weekend with a podium? Of course I would, but equally, 6 hours ago I drove that circuit for the first time and I've just absolutely beasted my way around. Fought super hard, defended super hard. To the point that over for the podium ceremony, Mike actually came over and apologised for not letting me through. But he knew that if I went past, he was going to get absolutely punted off the road by Peter. So it makes sense as to why he did what he did. And yeah, I feel like it was a rewarding drive. Obviously, there was an incident elsewhere on the circuit towards the end of the race that caused the safety car to come out. And I firmly believe if the safety car hadn't arrived, I probably would have found a way past. But I didn't. So for me, the safety car was unlucky. For Mike, the safety car was very lucky.
We can always say you could have tried this, could have tried that after the race, right? But the point being, as you just said, never raced here ever before.
Yeah.
On a very what we call an old-fashioned circuit, very fast and not much room for error. So to take that result away, we can't really sniff at that at all. And I think having had that race experience with somebody like Mike now, that's something you'll be able to call on in future races, having had that experience, because you've not had that was a good 20-minute duke out with one car. You haven't really had that before.
No. Yeah, to be back at the circuit, which has been so special for me my whole life, and to drive these cars and to bring it back in one piece, it's great. Yeah, I'm really happy.